While applying for a scholarship, I was tasked with writing an essay about a quote, person who had a major impact on my life and how they shaped me, unquote. All right, I'll give them a story, but I don't think it's going to be what they expect. This story is about a man who should have known better. I met him when I was 18 and he was 40. We were both in the same technical college, community college, and I was the youngest person in the class. Most of the people there were people who were coming back to college after being in the workforce for a number of years. I'm guessing they're going to be, most of them were probably in their 30s. It was a very close knit class because we were all in the same degree program and we all took the same accelerated courses. So we were all together, which is different than a lot of college experiences. So despite being a smart but naive girl, I fell for this man's advances. Before this, I hadn't really dated anybody. There were boys, of course, that I liked and wanted to date, um, in high school, but I really didn't have anything serious then. I was, though, still just starting a relationship with my best friend from high school. Um, we were not romantic or anything during high school, but we just had a natural progression, after graduation, and it was nice and sweet. Unfortunately, as I said before, I was naive, and I fell for the oldest story in the book. You know, the "my wife doesn't understand me" story. That they're splitting up, anytime now, and there's nothing left in the marriage, and all of that. Every girl has heard that who has lived any kind of a life. Um, but yeah, I fell for it because I believed him. Anyway, I don't even know why I was attracted at first because I do tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. Um, I never, even now, necessarily was looking for the most attractive or good looking or, athletic or whatever person. That's never been my style. I'm much more like intellect and humor, that type of thing. Well, this man kept up for over a year, really working on it. um, first just things like us working on the phone together, for doing school projects. But slowly, slowly, he was weaseling his way, into my life. And unfortunately, he was able to talk me into something that I wish I would not have been talked into, but we ended up getting involved. And because of that relationship, I ended up leaving my parents' home. He said he was going to take care of me and he was getting divorced and we would be together, the whole thing. Well, none of that happened, of course, and we all know that now. Um, it took years, though, to undo the damage from that relationship that it had on, my relationship with my family and my parents. Um, so the major impact on my life is that it made me make a choice between staying in my parents' home and abiding by their rules, which were definitely, fine. They were not unrealistic. They didn't approve of their daughter being in a relationship with a married man, and that's certainly understandable, certainly their prerogative. Um, the major impact was deciding whether to stay or to say, you know what, I'm an adult and I'm going to take responsibility for my actions. The impact, I guess, is I took the path of leaving my family and believing this person instead. The impact was that I made a decision at 19 years old that I was ready to take responsibility for my own actions. And apparently people twice twice that age had not gotten to that point yet. That has been a major thing go with my life going forward. Even though the relationship did not work out, um, the way it shaped me though was really about taking responsibility for one's own actions. And since then, I have. I believe I've done that, just going forward. I'm not saying I've done everything I've done is good, and I've definitely made some consequential mistakes, but I always took responsibility for them. And what this just helped me not have patience for people who will blame others for their problems and their issues in their life and don't take responsibility. It's just something I can't stand. I'm not saying that everyone has a perfect life. Obviously, that's not true. And there are people who are born into horrific circumstances. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when it comes to the time that an issue becomes more of an excuse that a person uses to hold themselves back. And because they love holding on to that story so much, they don't know how or what they would be if they didn't have that story, about this awful thing that happened to them. And they like the victimhood. Oh, they like the attention. They like the attention. And it's just something I can't fathom because that's not how I think an adult should behave. That experience definitely was something that shaped me. I was going to take responsibility for my actions, and I expected the people in my life to do the same. And I'm very, very disappointed when they don't. Um, all these years later, more than 40 years later, so much of life has happened, and still to this day, I can remember the day when I ran into this guy a few months later after we had broken up. At that point, I had lost my family. I lost my relationship with my parents. I was living in a hotel room, that had been converted into makeshift, week by week apartments. I had a $500 car that I couldn't, count on, but that's what he said he was going to get me a car, and I guess that was the best he could do. And I had basically my entire worldview shattered about love and relationships. And as I said, I took responsibility for my part. Well, when I ran into him, he was back with his wife. He was back at home. And he said that I should not have expected anything from him. He did not take any responsibility for any of his part in this tragedy, and he blamed it on me. Any hope of justice or regret or an apology, maybe, or even some decency was just shattered right there. And of course, he was fine. He was fine. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you find this content interesting enough to subscribe, as I really do appreciate the support. Looking forward to next time. Take care.